Welcome to Fort Myers, Florida. Today we're going to be exploring tornado damages of the tornado that came to the city of Fort Myers today. What I want you guys to know is that tornadoes are very small, limited operations. We're here right now, and you'll see how nothing at all happened here. And this is, if you're from Florida, this is the difference between a tornado and a hurricane. So in a hurricane, everything gets destroyed for long stretches. Everything for a long stretch, everything gets destroyed. Everything is destroyed for hundreds of miles around. But in a tornado, it's very localized. So here we're in Fort Myers, and you can see there's people going to restaurants, the power's on. Everything is absolutely normal here. But within 2 minutes of here, people's lives were changed forever. People lost their homes, and people, property, business, vehicles destroyed. So while it may look absolutely normal here, within a short drive, the scenario is going to change rapidly. Now, during my live stream, I was telling people to go home, and that's not bad. I lived in Alabama, where tornadoes were part of life every year. In fact, I only lived up there for 1 year. In that 1 year period, we had one tornado hit our town. So it's a normal thing in Alabama, where I used to live, for people to get hit by tornadoes. So during a tornado there, in the aftermath, nobody goes out. I've said a lot of bad things about Alabama, but when it comes to how social, I don't even know what the right word is, how decent socially people are, and how orderly people are, is unmatched. But they get tornadoes all the time, and they know how it goes. So people here in Fort Myers, this is a complete abnormality. So the people here don't know how to react. A lot of people driving around looking at the damage, which is natural. We're all curious. But the best thing to do is to watch it on YouTube Live, or watch it on Facebook, or NBC2, or whatever, Wink News, whatever you use. Go on the news, go on Facebook, social media, or the news, and do not get in the way of cleanup efforts, because there's a lot of people driving around just out of curiosity, and they're going to get in the way of cleanup efforts. But people here don't know that. It's a complete abnormality for this place to get hit by a tornado. They just don't know any better. It's a complete abnormality, so people are going to be naturally curious. But in Alabama, where tornadoes are a normal thing, people stay out of the way. Nobody go. In fact, I got a lot of criticism, so you guys can understand how different Florida and Alabama are. In Alabama, I got a lot of criticism from people for recording the aftermath of the tornado, where here, because they said you had to stay home. Everybody, if you weren't part of the cleanup effort, you couldn't be out and about. It's not a law, it was just people's sentiment. But here, you can see already there's power trucks here. So from now on, you're going to start to see the signs of the tornado damage. There's a guy collecting scrap metal right there. That's pretty, yeah, you can make $1 doing that, but I'm not going to make $1 doing that. I used to do that. I don't, maybe later on, if somebody's got a huge lump of scrap metal, I'll get it, but I'm so sick of truck trailer work. I might sell a truck and try to just do YouTube. It's making me enough at this point, almost. Anyways, the sentiment in Alabama was, if you weren't the power truck and the tow truck and the cleanup crew, you couldn't be out and about. I mean, if you were, they were very strongly disgusted, was probably the word I would say, with me being out and about recording the cleanup work after the tornado, even like a week or two after. I mean, it's just a different mentality in Alabama. But here it's totally different, and that just goes to show that from place to place, these people probably live in this mobile home park, and they're not able to get in, so they're having to park out here. This mobile home park, I'm gonna guess, had extensive damages. So you can see the sheriff's office there, and all that. There's a piece of a roof over here. So this mobile home park was destroyed by this event here in Fort Myers. But anyways, the sentiment here is to let people do whatever they want. If they want to drive around after a tornado, look at damages, even if it gets in the way of cleanup efforts, that's the local sentiment here. When I lived in Alabama, the local sentiment was there's no power at this intersection here, and the sheriff's office are here, so this area. Anyways, the local sentiment here is let people do whatever the crap they want. If they want to drive around after a tornado looking at damages, let them. If they want to, you know, take some scrap metal and sell it after a tornado, let them. It's a very liberal place in Southwest Florida. Well, that community right there got destroyed, but I'm not going to go in there. There's some houses in here. Let me see if I can get in, but I don't think it's probably the best thing to do either way. There's some homes and communities that just got destroyed. People out and about walking more than usual. Of course, people are curious. It's normal. It's normal for people to be curious. But it's just interesting how the sentiment of people varies from place to place. While people here start driving around looking at damages, people in Alabama start cleaning up and helping people. So it's a very different place. This is a very liberal place. And back in Alabama, it's very conservative. I'm not talking about how people vote. I'm not talking about voting. Alabama still votes 40% Democrat. I don't know if you guys knew the entire state of Alabama is 40% Democrat. But if people who are Democrat, they're not allowed to voice their opinions. They have to keep that in the closet. So everybody in Alabama says they're a Republican. But when it comes down to vote, they don't always vote Republican. They just have to keep that. They have to keep that to themselves. But at the end of the day, one of the massive differences between Alabama and Florida is just a general consensus of what's right and wrong. Where in Alabama, a lot of things are considered wrong. Here, they're considered right. And there's a lot of things that vice versa. Like, people here would never do them. Like, here in Florida, everybody works for a living. In Alabama, people live off the government for a living. You know, they'll leech off the government or whatever. I'm gonna show you guys something real quick. Over here, I'm gonna get out of the car for just a second. I'm gonna show you guys something. So there's no mobile homes right here immediately, but you can see part of a mobile home is stuck on that electrical post up there. So the mobile home parks were definitely destroyed. But anyways, tornadoes are part of life in Alabama, and they're kind of a rarity here. And again, the difference between you and me, there's a lot of people that went on my live stream and said, "Oh, this is horrible. We're gonna unsubscribe because of what I said." But what you need to understand is that we all have different opinions. It's just because I have a different opinion from you doesn't mean you gotta hate me or now you unsubscribe. You know, you have to go on an unsubscribe thing because you don't like my opinion. We all have different opinions. You don't have to agree with it. What's beautiful about the fact that I've been able to live in Alabama and that I've been able to live here is that living in Alabama and living here, I've been able to understand different, you know, you learn so much. What's right in one place is wrong in the next. You know? What's right in one place is wrong in the next. And simply having a different opinion than somebody doesn't mean you're their enemy. Now you gotta tell people to unsubscribe because they think differently than you. As you move around and see different things and see different places, this is not the worst of it. This little area barely got hit. You guys are gonna see some better footage up ahead. But once one person starts cleaning up, then everybody sees that, and then they figure that's what they got to do. So you have all this aluminum here. I'm sure if you're collecting scrap metal, you can pick it up and it wouldn't be a problem. Nobody would say anything, but each trailer though will bring you about a few $100, but I'm not in the mood. I don't feel like doing. I don't even know how I'm driving around. That's how sick I am. But the tests keep coming back negative, so as long as they're negative, we're good. I'm still not going into crowded places wearing a mask when I'm out and about. You can see mobile command center for FPLs out here. So there will be massive cleanup efforts. The good thing about tornadoes compared to hurricanes is that tornadoes are centralized. So as you can see, when we started the video, life is totally normal there. Life is totally normal when we started the video. as we start moving into this little area here that got hit harder, lives were completely disrupted here. So it's a very centralized event, and what that means is that the people within the surrounding areas are able to offer quick assistance to the recovery process. But where there isn't a central, when like hurricanes are different. Hurricanes affect hundreds of miles in all directions, which means that where there's a hurricane, where there's a hurricane, like see this in the people in Alabama would be horrified to see these people that are just taking photos of trees down. This would be completely like, the people watching this video from Alabama are horrified, just so you know. But the people here in Southwest Florida, when they see it, they don't see anything bad about that. And what I'm trying to tell you guys is that when you live in different places, you learn different cultures, it expands your thinking, your understanding of life, because what's wrong in one place is right in the other. Like if this was Alabama, these people would be getting shooed the crap out. You know, these people here taking photos and stuff, they would be getting shooed the crap out because it's considered wrong regionally. It's not acceptable, you know. So when you move to a different place, like when I first moved to Alabama, my first tornado up there, I reported on it like I'm doing right now. I don't give a crap. I'm from Southwest Florida. I don't give a crap. But the people there were horrified at me doing that. And that's kind of where everything started to go downhill with my YouTubing up there. So basically, you'll come to the understanding that when you live in different places, like that's one reason I went to Alabama, is because I wanted to experience a completely different world, and I got to experience that. And it expands your thinking, your ability to know so much more, because people are narrow-minded. Like the people that live here in Southwest Florida, all they know is their rich, snobby life. That's all they know. And the people in Alabama, all they know is their rural, conservative life. Now this thing wasn't, see where it's at right now, it wasn't there. The reason is because that's the road. You can see the yellow line right here. So this big ice machine, which weighs tons and tons, ended up here, which is actually blocking the road. Let me see if I can drive around it, because it's actually blocking the road. So there's a, I don't know, 5-ton piece of equipment. Well, if it's got ice inside, it's even heavier. Blocking the road. But you can see here that it was probably over here. Looks like it was here, and it ended up over there. So this was right here. This concrete machine was probably there. It's probably about 5 tons, and it ended up over there. See, it's right now, it's on the middle. It's blocking the road right now. It's on the road. There's barely enough space for one car to get through here. So as you go to different places, so the tornado definitely came right through here. As you go to different places, you're exposed to different mentality, different understanding of life and people and things, and what's acceptable in one place is not acceptable in the next. And to live that firsthand is great, because it gives you a perspective on people that is very unique. And I think if you've only lived in Alabama your whole life, you're narrow-minded. If you've only lived in Naples or Fort Myers your whole life, you're also very narrow-minded, because you've only got to see one. You've only got to see one side of the story. But once you live in different places, you'll have the opportunity to see different cultures, and one of the most pronounced differences between Southwest Florida, or actually anywhere really, is that what's right in one place is very wrong in the next. And there's like these unsaid social laws that in one place are in one way and in another place are different. One of those examples is, for example, tornado cleanup. In Alabama, you cannot be out and about after a tornado. It's really looked down on. It's really frowned down upon. But here, it's it's an abnormality, so it's not part of the regiment here. People don't understand what to do. And two, it's also the mindset. People here do whatever the crap they want. You're not going to tell these people what to do. But in Alabama, there's social laws that you have to follow. Social rules you have to live by. And those things contribute greatly to the outlook that people are going to have on life, on what's right, what's wrong, what you can and what you can't do. And it's beautiful that I've lived in Alabama, lived in Florida, lived in Kentucky, lived in Cuba, and over the years I've been able to pick up, I refer to it as culture or education, and an expanding of your mind. Because when you're living in only one of those places, you only know one way of doing things. But as you move around and see different places and experience different things in life, you'll realize that not everybody thinks this. And what's right and wrong is not dictated by what you as a person, like this guy thinks he's taking a photo of that semi. For him, that's the right thing to do. Now, I spent a year in Alabama. I feel like screaming at him off the top of my head. And I did it to people during the live stream. But guess what? Moral rules, you can enforce your conscience on the other people and what's right or wrong, but there is no right or wrong ever. Right or wrong is what you think is right or wrong, and what the general consensus of people. Like if I went to Alabama and started doing it, it would be wrong because the people there don't want it done, but the people here don't give a crap. So now guess who's in the wrong here? I am, because I'm trying to enforce Alabama rules in Southwest Florida. So who's wrong about it? Who's wrong now is I am, for having a backwards mindset. So that's the beauty of traveling and seeing different places and seeing different things, is that you acquire this understanding that if you've only lived in one place, you'll never understand it. You know, it expands your thinking, and you can really become, I call it educated. And education makes you a better human being, because you're no longer looking at things as what they taught me where I grew up. What did they teach me in Alabama, or what did they teach me in Florida, or what did I grow up accustomed to? But what is really right and wrong is deeper than just your culture or your stigma, your dogma, or your environment and what the people around you think is right or wrong. So it's just a very interesting thing to think about. And of course, there's mobile home parks that were completely destroyed here in Fort Myers. You're not gonna be allowed to get access into those places. I'm just giving you guys kind of a general idea. Yes, there were damages, and people in mobile homes particularly lost everything. And this is why I tell you guys, don't buy mobile homes. I had people mad at me. I made a video where I told people, if you can afford not to, don't ever move into a mobile home, because the houses, you might have a few shingles torn off and a palm tree fall over and you're ready to go. But if you live in a mobile home, your whole entire life is now uprooted. This area of Fort Myers is an excellent, if not a top place to be in Florida. Not as fancy as Naples or Jupiter. It's not that fancy, but it's safe, and it's got great people. Now, I've known people here. My mother-in-law lives in this area, and I've met her friends that live out here. And while I don't agree with the way they live life, you know, they have their own way of living, and I have mine, and we don't have to believe like them, but they're good people, you know. And this is a great place to live. This south side of Fort Myers, Cypress Lake and this little area over here, it's still affordable. That's fancy, but you still have access to everything you would have in Naples. Just about. You have all the restaurants, stores, everything. This is a great place to live that's still somewhat affordable. And you're close to beaches, access to beaches. It's a great place to be. So if you're thinking about Florida, this is a great little corner of Florida, South Fort Myers. It's not as expensive, it's not as chaotic. People are a little bit more down to earth. Fort Myers isn't just, you only see two. You see the realtors pushing the ultra fancy because they make more commissions on you a place like that. They're not trying to advertise St. Carlos Park or Fort Myers Shores. They're trying to push you into the more expensive areas. Seems like there's no damage here. Tornadoes are very centralized events, so all these areas look normal, and they're right adjacent to the area that got hit the worst. So that's what's interesting about tornadoes, is how centralized they are. But my point being that you only see two, the ultra wealthy or the hood. But there's middle grounds in Fort Myers. Lots of great communities just normal people can live in. You don't have to be in a really poor place or an extraordinarily rich place. And what's right or wrong is really subjective. Culturally subjective, regionally subjective. Maybe in some parts of rural states, it's frowned upon for a girl to walk around in little skanky clothes. But here you live next to the beach and people dress skankier, and it's just accepted here because it's part of the way life here. Well, you go to like rural Pennsylvania, they might frown on that. West Virginia, they might have a heart attack or something, or Alabama, in some places in Alabama, they might have a heart attack. But what's right or wrong is more of a regional, is probably the right word, cultural, probably regional is the right word. What is regionally accepted where you live, it's what's right or wrong. Like if you're from Columbus, Georgia, Ohio, wherever you are, in one state, the law to do something, may it be procreate, may it be drink, consume, buy certain products, do certain things, go to certain places, take part in certain activities. Maybe the age to ride a motorcycle in your country is 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe in another country it's 21. So all those activities, there's no right or wrong answer. Until you throw in the regional factor. And the regional factor says, what do people in this vicinity think is right or wrong? So what's right or wrong is heavily influenced not so much on exactly where you are, but what do the people in that area think is right and wrong? And that is a large contributing, influencing factor in what really is right and wrong. How people in your area view something. And it could be anything. It could be their views on wearing a mask, their views on what's right or wrong, a certain age that you can do something, engage in any activity. There's parts of the world where women at 12 years old have to get married and start a life because 3 out of 4 kids don't make it to the age of 2, so they have to start early. And there's parts of the world where it's 18, other parts it's 21, 20. Consumption is the same, regulated by age, location. There's some parts, when I lived in Alabama, they have these things called dry counties where you cannot drink unless you're certain, some counties you're not allowed to buy a drink. Why? Because in those areas, they think it's wrong based on their history, based off of their beliefs, or based off of the history that people in that area just can't act. They don't know how to drink. So now, what's right and wrong? There's places in Florida you can buy alcohol 1:30 in the morning. I went through a small town recently in Ohio and I bought alcohol really late at night in a really remote area. So there it is.